Flosstube. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. This is my Flosstube number 2, so and it's been about 2.5 weeks since I did the first one, and I realized I was putting off doing this second one, and I decided I was just going to jump in and we'd see where we go. Because otherwise I was going to get bogged down in, I don't know, some perfectionist thinking. I had to get better camera equipment. I had to learn how to do videos better. All of that before I ever did another video, and I decided that that wasn't going to work for me because I just don't have the time and I guess resources to do that right now. So here we are. Okay, so I have no finishes because I'm new enough at this and slow enough at this that that's probably not going to happen for some time. But I do have a bunch of starts. The way I've decided to participate in Stitch Maynia, but I didn't read any rules anywhere. I'm just, you know, I heard a lot of people saying how they were doing it, and I just decided that I was going to leap in and do it a way that worked for me, which is basically a new start every 2 to 3 days with whips sprinkled in, and until the end of May I was going to stitch every single day. So I don't know when I'll stop doing new starts, but I might just kind of cycle around and do the things that I now started some more in the month of May, or I may start a couple more, so we'll see. But anyway, this is the first whip I have, and I can't wait to get back to working on it. It is Blueskin by Plum Street, and that's George Washington's horse's name, which I just think is really cool. This is my progress so far. It is not on the called for because my local LNS didn't have it. I'm not sure that you can really even see the exact colors I'm using. Something I've learned is how not true most colors show up on cameras, which I had no idea how bad they were, but they really are pretty bad. So anyway, so that's my progress there, and I really like that. And when I get back to working on it, I think I've got a higher magnification available. I'll show you that in a little bit, and I think that's going to make it even easier for me to work on it. Then the next thing I'm working on is something that I showed you was already in progress, and that's ABC, Works by ABC, homage to the Red and White Quilt Show from 2011, and it's a pin keep or pin cushion, and this is my progress so far, and it is 1/1, and there are mistakes, especially right between these two. There's supposed to be, I think, another thread of space, but when I have frogged with this thread, it has left residue on the fabric, and I'm gonna leave it as is. And now that I have better magnification, I'm doing a lot better seeing where I need to be stitching. So anyway, I love that, but it's 1/1. So okay, so the next one that I'm going to talk about, I probably should move these over here. The next one I'm going to talk about is Stacy Nash Primitives 1806 Manor House Sewing Roll. I love this. Isn't that cute? And I am doing this on 32 count cream by Zweigart, which it's called for on 36 in a grayer color, so I think I did switch up colors some. I also kitted this out of flosses I already had for the most part. So as you can see, it's going to be bigger, which I think is going to be good for me because I need a sewing roll that's probably bigger than tiny. Just because I have, you know, different hobbies that I'm working on, and so I need to be carrying different types of things, different kinds of threads, flosses, etc. So that's that one. And then here's the one I've been working on the last couple of days, and it is called Cotton Bird by Plum Street. And And I love this too. I live across from a cotton gin, and I was thinking I'm going to hang it in my entry hall. This one, the green I'm using for the vine is a variegated from DMC, and I think it's going too light to really be seen easily on this vintage country mocha from Zweigart. It's a 32 count. So we'll see. I'm learning a lot about color contrast. You know, that's something you learn a lot about in quilting, but generally there you're looking at colors adjacent. Although, you know, with applique, you are looking at colors superimposed. But I think the difference is when threads are applied to fabric, it's a slightly, you lose more volume of the color than you do when you're working with pieces of fabric. I don't know. Anyway, my head isn't wrapped around it yet. And so I think in the future when I'm making decisions, what I might do is take like a little sample and stitch out a couple of stitches so that I can see how it's going to look. Although with this one, it took a while for the really light part of the variegation to show up, so I'm not sure that I would have even realized then. Anyway, I love that though. I'm really enjoying working on it. And then this last one, well, sort of last one. The last one I've started is I decided I was just going to jump in and start working on Lucy Calcutt 1826 by just stitching along. This is the companion to the one that Lucy Calcutt did in 1825. So I love this. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love that house. I love the birds. I love the bushes. I mean, I love everything about this. I love that rose in the center. So right now I have this on a, I think the color is Antique Ivory from, it's a Zweigart, and it's a 36 count. Now, my problem is that it is not like the picture. I mean, this is probably a decent color combination, but this is definitely seems darker than the fabric in the background here. This is Light Exemplar from Lakeside Linens, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Now, it's probably available somewhere, but I couldn't find to order it online. My LNS does not have it. My LNS, I think, is more quilting focused, so they didn't have a huge selection of linens, but it, you know, so I'm a little disappointed in that I wanted this color to look brighter, and I don't know if maybe if I had seen this sample in person it would look the same. If anyone has any comments or suggestions for me, or what they think this looks like, if they think it looks okay, I don't know if you can even really tell what it looks like in person. Or maybe because it's the border, when I get to the rest of the colors, I'll be more satisfied. There's a part of me that's a little worried because it's a huge project and I'm going to be working on it a long, long time. So, I don't know. But I do like this fabric. It may be darker than what I needed. For this project, I got all excited and sewed with vinyl for the first time, which my machine didn't care for too much. There was a lot of skipping of stitches. But I made myself a little floss buddy. So there it is. It's just a flat pocket with, you know, rows of vinyl. And I realized that I didn't actually have to bobbinate all of my flosses, because if I just stuck the end with the thread that you can pull out the top, then I could just pull on it. So it makes me happy. You can't tell really, but the inside fabric has little frogs on it that are saying ribbit. And these are two lovebirds on the outside, I guess. Anyway, it makes me happy when I look at it. It's sewn very poorly. I would not try to sell any of these. And it makes me, oh, I have such respect for people that can do finished sewing well enough that they can sell it. Anyway, so that was that. And okay. And part of my haul, I should just mention, is that I'm using all the called for DMC. The model was actually stitched with DMC, and I really like the look of it, so that's why I stuck with the DMC, especially because it's a lot less expensive than if I tried to do it all in silks. My piggy bank would have been very empty. So other haul I got was I decided I was going to go ahead and get the, let's see, what are these things called? The Soie d'Alger, maybe is what it's called. Flosses for Lucy Navier. Oops, I didn't take her out of here. But you know, this is that Queen of the May pattern that Nicola Parkman released this year. And so I'm getting my flosses 1 month at a time from the Cottage Needle. She's doing a month. And so I got the first 2 months all together. And I haven't purchased the fabric or anything, but I figured that with dye lots changing, the way I've seen that they do, even with DMC, that I wanted to go ahead and leap on the colors that she selected. And then I'll work on getting a background fabric that will work with these colors. When I'm closer maybe to stitching it, and I have figured out how small I can go, because that is an enormous project, and I don't know, I'm probably not going to try to start stitching it until I've at least finished Lucy Calcut or gotten close. So I feel like I've really gotten more experience with that. Anyway, so another whip that I'm planning on working on but haven't touched again yet is, I think, Matilda Benton is the name of this one. Yeah, the Matilda Benton sampler from 1821. This is in Antique Sampler and Antique Needlework from December of 2012. And I watched Vanna's video. I'm sure everyone knows that Vanna has excellent suggestions. So I went out and got these pacifier clips and this self-adhering Velcro, and it got my my fabric nice and taut. I'm very, very happy with this. I think it's going to be a lot easier to work on than the way it was set up before. Although I'm not 100% convinced that I'll be able to get my magnifier close enough to what I'm doing, so we'll have to see how that goes. But it made me happy that I used a suggestion from Vanna, and that it worked really well, so that was really fun. And let's see. Okay. So that was quote-unquote haul, because I'm, you know, spending money on these little bits and bobs. Oh, here's another thing that I got. I don't know if I had gotten this before my first video. I don't think so. Long Dog Stitcher had shown that she had gotten a big, I don't know what you call this, organizer box with these little cases in it. Hers were all clear for storing her flosses. And I thought that was a really great idea. And then I saw this one with the colored boxes at Tuesday Morning. I leapt on it. It was like $16, $17. And I don't have enough flosses that I'm, you know, I need a whole lot of storage yet. So this was perfect for me. And it's really helped, because when you try to store DMC in color order and you're trying to do floss substitutes, it doesn't really work very well, because you just don't know what the color is of, you know, it just doesn't work. So one of the other things, oh, I need all this here. I really should move it over here because under here I got this, which I am super excited with because it helps me figure out how far off a color I'm thinking of using is from what was the original suggestion. So I really like this. It has the actual flosses in here. It makes me very happy to have it because I feel a lot less in the dark when I'm trying to, you know, decide what to use. I think that's it. I'm sure I've spent money on other things because there's a lot of materials, like I've purchased fabric and that sort of thing, which I've already put into projects, so I can't show it to you. And then I thought it would be fun for me to mention a couple of other things that I'm working on that are not cross-stitch. One is wool applique, Sue Spargo style. I don't know if anybody here has heard, I'm sure if you're a quilter, you've heard of Sue Spargo. And I used to think that I would hate working on wool. This is a project that is going to turn into a cover for a sewing wallet. That little Yazzie sewing wallet, and this will be sort of covering it. Anyway, so this is a side that I finished. This is my very first use of specialty stitches on wool, and I loved it, absolutely loved it, highly recommend it. And then I've just started doing some little tiny bullions on this side. I think that's what those are. Yep, little bitty ones around the red. So when Maynia is over, I'll be cycling in this type of project in with my cross stitch. It's just I wanted to be able to post a cross stitch picture on my Instagram every day, just so that I could, you know, hold myself accountable and be consistent, which is not something I do a lot. Not when it comes to my crafting / hobbies, which is why I finish very little, but I have a great time. And then here's another, this project is crazy. But, oh my gosh, I love the idea of getting this done. So before I even understood linen at all, I found this book used in a bookstore probably maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And it's Home Sweet Home, and by the author Carolyn Pierce. I don't know if you can see that on here. There. And it's to make this sewing box. And I mean, this thing is so beautiful. Let me see if I can find a good picture. Here we go. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? And I want to make this. It is embroidery, so it's not actually cross stitch, but super duper cute. Makes me really happy every time I look at the book. So I had started trying to, I got maybe a dressmaking linen that I then backed with a fusible. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that plan or not. I have to look again in here now that I understand fabrics a little bit more and see whether or not I really should go maybe with just a high count linen that's a cross stitch based linen, or if my plan still works. Anyway, I had just begun working on some of the stitching on the windows, and then I put this aside. I think I got really focused on trying to get quilts made and just put everything up. So I have many of the silks. I was doing a lot of color substitutions. This is an old book, and I don't have a local source for like Gloriana silks, and that was a lot of what she was calling for, and I didn't know how to find where to buy these things online. Now that I've been watching Flosstube, I have a lot more information, so I may go out and replace some of the threads that I purchased for it and just, you know, put the other ones in my stash. My LNS is also very into needlepoint, and I suspect that the silks that are available to me are more needle point focused than cross stitch focused. I don't know if that makes them of a different texture or thickness, but I wonder, because the silk that I'm using on the 32 count, it's thick, you know, it's like maybe a strand and a half, I think, of DMC. And I don't know if that really works either for that design on the Works by ABC pincushion. Anyway, so my plans. I'm going to keep going. If I feel like not starting something and instead working on something I've already started, that's what I'm going to do. And if I feel like starting, I have a couple of others that I have not yet, you know, kitted up. Well, I did kit up this little guy, like with substitutions, but for this little guy. And I think I'll do him on a 25 count Lugana, even weave. I decided that I really, really like the look of linen. Like one of these projects, I think it was a sewing roll, I started on a 22 count. I guess maybe it was intended for hide angular. I always thought of it as a cross stitch fabric. It's an Aida. And I really hated the way it looked. It's just so much more chunky, the texture is different, and I really, really like stitching on linen now that I've figured out I can actually do it. But there are some things where if I want to go really, really tiny, right now 1/1 on a 25 count can get me really small, and I thought that I could turn this guy into something small enough that I might use it for a pincushion, kind of like the other one that I showed in my first video, or I don't know, we'll see. I think that's it. That's plenty, I'm sure. Thanks for watching and listening and being kind when you comment. I really appreciated it, and I love this Flosstube community. It's just awesome. All right, take care. Till next time.